Good morning. It's Sunday morning, March 18th. And I had a comment last night on my video on the resistance potential. Question was, when do we stop asking for our rights back and just take them back? Okay? In other words, what exactly constitutes the transition from phase 1, passive resistance, to phase 2, active resistance? Well, got a little quote here from Thomas Jefferson that I think is very valuable in determining what that answer is. So let's take a look at that right now. Okay, Jefferson says, rightful liberty is unobstructed action according to our will within limits drawn around us by the equal rights of others. I do not add within the limits of the law, because law is often but the tyrant's will, and always so when it violates the rights of the individual. So the question is, when do you become a resistor? We can deduce some answers to this question by using the quote above as our guide. The answer is in there. First, notice how he describes rightful liberty: unobstructed action according to our will within limits drawn around us by the equal rights of others. Literally, in an environment like the one Jefferson is alluding to, almost anything could be possible in the interactions between individuals, just as long as no one's rights are violated, which boils everything down to a matter of consent. Therefore, a free society should not move to limit the choices and interactions of individuals in any way other than a negative one, when rights are violated. Notice Jefferson's emphasis on the distinction that he didn't phrase it within the limits of the law. He states that law is often but the tyrant's will, designed to violate and diminish the rights of the individual. So he's saying that more often than not, laws are merely instruments used in the violation of individual rights. Instruments used by whom? By the tyrant, right? So to take this to the logical extreme, resistance becomes the only viable option left in the struggle for recognition of one's rights, when all other means for the legal redress of grievances have been completely removed and shut down by legal decree of the state or the tyrant. When do you become a resistor? Well, when the socio-political conditions are oppressive enough, resistance may develop into an organized resistance movement. That's a fancy way of saying that the tyranny has gotten so bad that the population has no more choice left but to revolt. Okay? Above all else, we need to honor what's known in libertarianism as the non-aggression principle. In other words, we won't start the fight, they will, but when they start it, the people together collectively will end it. Alright? So I think the signpost we have to be looking for in this respect is when the state starts pulling coast-to-coast Waco-type operations against dissenters and protesters, then and only then will self-defense on a mass scale be necessary and lawful. Above all else, the resistance has to always occupy the moral high ground. That is the key terrain in this struggle. When you start running around acting like the state, pulling false flag operations and such things like that in the cause of liberty, then you're really no better than the enemy that you are struggling against. So my advice on this is we need to keep this in phase 1 for as long as we physically possibly can. And let's not give up on Ron Paul yet. Alright? We all know that the establishment is doing everything in their power to make it look like he doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell. But we all know that wherever Ron Paul shows up to speak, he's got thousands of people showing up to support him and cheer him on. Whereas the Republican shills that are running against him, their speaking engagements, they basically have to grab people off the street and pay them to show up, and through the use of fancy editing and camera angles, they make it look like that Newt Gingrich is having crowds like Ron Paul is pulling in spontaneously on his own with no coercion or tricky tactics being used at all. So if the true picture were to truly be revealed by the media, we would see that really Ron Paul probably has more support than anybody else that's running for president right now. Our tact has to be breaking through this Berlin Wall of silence that the media has thrown up, and this false paradigm that they're using to make it appear that Ron Paul does not have the support and does not have a snowball's chance in hell of being elected our next president. So vigilance is the key. We need to be the bigger man here and resist the urge to preemptively start things that don't need to be started yet. So, Movie Bill 2. I hope this goes a long ways in answering your question. I will be getting to work today. Hopefully by tonight I will have the next video up on the phases of the resistance. And I hope to see you there. Thanks for your time.